So welcome to our session at Blackfest, Tech Fest. So my name is Thomason, and I've been working at Wise for up to 3 years now, and I work as a design researcher in the Sun Squad. And I'll let you get on with yours.
Yeah, hi. My name is Ibukun. I am an observability lead at Wise. I've been here for about a year now. So thanks for joining us. All right. So yeah, let's get into it. Scene. I think we kind of wanted to start with just like sharing our career journeys, and yours is quite interesting, coming from a different background. Can you just like walk us through how you got into tech, how you found yourself here?
Yeah, so yeah, my background is a bit interesting. So I actually studied engineering. I studied mechanical engineering. I don't know what I was thinking. And then through the course, I realized that through the course, to be honest, the first day on the course, I realized it wasn't for me. So my plan during the course was to figure out what to do next. And I was lucky enough to have the opportunity that my university course, we had a lot of design courses on the course, and I went for those courses and it opened my eyes to the design world. But I knew I wasn't interested in being a designer, but I was interested in building products and seeing how I can contribute to that and fixing problems. So I did a lot of personal studying myself. I went on courses. I worked through like internships and just any experience I could get in the design research field. And I eventually like landed my first role. And so that was actually in human factors research and the automotive industries. I was working in a car company. And then I made my way through like different sectors and ended up in fintech. And I've been working in fintech for about 4 years now.
Yeah,
Um, I
yeah,
no,
how's
I
it?
was gonna
Interesting. Coming through so many industries and also just like taking advantage of internships, courses that were available to you and using that to sort of like pivot your career. So yeah, cool.
Exactly. It's been an interesting journey, but then I guess with you, you're a lead, you have a different experience. I would love to know that journey for you, like growing in your role from that entry level position as well up to lead.
Yeah, so my case is kind of different because I did study computer science and went on to be like a programmer. So I started as a backend engineer. But we're kind of similar in the sense that I've transitioned several times in my career. So a year into my like stint as a backend engineer, I got the chance to either switch to a different team or switch to a DevOps role. And DevOps was new at the time. I think it was kind of up and coming for different companies, but I thought it would be a good chance for me to learn something new. And I took that opportunity. So I was like a newbie, just like struggling, learning from the experienced engineers. But I eventually fell in love with it. And I thought, okay, yeah, this is a good place to like, you know, put my tents down and continue to build my career in. But then again, something shiny came along, and I discovered observability. So I was like, oh, observability is a more like niche part of like DevOps, SRE, or like platforms. So I started like working on that in my previous company. And when the opportunity came to like build the team and lead the team, I was up for it as well. So I think for me, my journey has just been like curiosity, learning, like yourself, like just taking chances, personal development. And I think very early on throughout my different like companies, I realized that I loved working with people. I loved helping people grow their careers. So that's kind of how I became a lead. And I think for me now, it's definitely a mixed love of like people and infrastructure and kind of bringing it together. So yeah, that's kind of how I've been getting through the tech world.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I love that part you said about taking opportunity or chances or taking chances on yourself because like you really have to. So I love like you gotta go for the opportunities even
Yeah,
how hard it may seem.
yeah, sure.
Definitely. And I guess building on that, I would love to have you share your like journey at Wise, like how you found your professional experience at Wise. Your what would you say?
So I've been at Wise for a year now. Actually, it's going to be a year. Probably by the time you're watching, uh, by the time you're watching this, it's going to be a year. So I think it's been a very interesting journey. It's been challenging to say the least. I think coming into Wise, I was coming to a different country. I was coming to a new team, new culture, new infrastructure, and the very early days were like a test for my skill, my knowledge, and my confidence as well. But I think just having the support of my team, knowing that like there's room to grow, and I've never really been one to like back down from a challenge. So like just kind of taking it head on and saying, okay, you know what, I found myself here. So what's next? Like, what do I do? How do we go from here? And just knowing that like there's so many people to support you through that process has made it much easier for me. So yeah, it's been a really good one. I'm glad it was a next step for me in my career journey. Um, and I guess you have been here much longer, so like 3 years now. That's so cool. Uh, in terms of like the community, like how have you been finding it so far?
No, I think like it's so interesting because when I started during COVID. So I was alone in my house, me and my computer. I was living alone, so it was a very isolating experience, actually, if I must say so. Um, but then over the past like recent periods, like obviously the world has opened up again, and the office is open in London. And it's a great office, actually. I've been coming more into the office and being more involved in more community things. So I'm part of the Black Wisers group and the inclusive group, as well as like I've met up with like groups of people. Like I think there's a group of Nigerians that I met up as well with going to lunch, and so it's I've been trying to take advantage of the opportunities, like even as well meeting up with my teams or people that I just have share like the similarities with or interest with, meeting up with people. And so rather than seeing them as just your colleagues, which is nice as well, but seeing them as real people and connecting with them. And I've been trying to do that more really and just build on those like relationships. So it's been quite nice actually, if I must say so, connecting with people, wisers as people as well.
Yeah, that's really cool because I think is what you touch on is really important. It's like the more you feel like part of a group, part of a community, the more you can settle in. And I think very much so. I found that that was what helped me really transition from feeling like an outsider to now feeling like part of a team and part of a mission. So I think that's really good to hear. And I think you kind of touched a bit on like the Black Wiser community and like lunch and stuff. Like how has that really helped you so far, being at Wise? And I guess in what way does that stand out for you compared to like the other places that you've worked with?
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think like for me, part of like why I actually was interested in I took this job was because I worked in fintech and I worked in a company where we were interested in it was the experiences of businesses that would be mostly British, mostly like the customers are not going to be people that per se look like me or are from places that are not the places that a lot of companies are willing to invest a lot of money in. And I was interested in working at Wise really because we have the mission statement is money everyone and for everyone everywhere. It's building money without borders, and we have customers all over the world, but also within our organization we have people from like over like so many nationalities. Like I think it's like over 100 nationalities within the organization, and so it's really nice that the company is like empowered, like allows people to be, I guess, themselves and empowered to be able to make their contributions to the company, with all these like different activities that are going on and events. Like it's a lot that is always going on at White with all the events, but it's nice. I think for me, as well as like being a woman, when we're seeing like things happening as well with like representation for women in leadership like you, and developing earlier careers now, like the graduates and interns we had this summer. It's really nice. Um, but I guess I would ask for you, just because you work as a lead and you're involved with recruitment as well, how you see like that idea of like supporting diversity through recruitment.
Yeah, so I think as a lead, we pretty much think about like how do we increase our chances of having a more diverse team? We're very open to sort of like sponsoring people on relocation, sponsoring their visas to work in the UK as well, for certain roles. But I think more importantly is just even making sure that our recruitment pipeline is diverse. So when we put out a role, for example, my recruiter and I would make sure that we're kind of posting the role in places where like the typical engineer would not be. So like you're looking for more diverse genders, more diverse races, actually going the extra mile to also reach out to them as well to encourage them to apply. So we believe that like the more people we get into the pipeline who are diverse, the more chances we have at building a diverse team. And I like that, what you've just said. So it's not just about like hitting the numbers and like making sure that like we have all like colors and genders represented, but actually even when you come in, you have communities like you've talked about where you can start to like feel like more of a part of a goal and a cohesive team, and feel like your opinion matters, you're well represented as well, and you're welcome, as well. So definitely I think in terms of like recruitment is something that we take very importantly, and something that we try to make sure that we work on proactively. Yeah, I guess kind of coming from like, talking about wise communities, we are also quite involved in community ourselves. So would you, want to tell us about yours, Project Lights?
Okay, yeah, so this is a bit, I'm a bit shy because I just started it recently. But like you said, like community matters a lot to me. I think for me, I've realized in life that you need people and you need people to get through like obviously the tough times you have through and struggles, you need people to get through them, but even like in good times, it's you enjoy the times better when you have people to go along with you. And so that's why I started the content page. So what I do as a job is I interview people for a living, so I end up talking to people a lot, and I realized that I am someone that loves to talk, and I would be in cafes or like just on the bus stop on the bus, and people would start telling me their life stories and I would end up spending like, I'm not even lying, an hour or two in a coffee shop talking to somebody, a stranger I just met. And so I thought like, why not record some parts of these conversations? It felt natural for me to record parts of the conversations I found like quite encouraging, that resonated with me, that really like was encouraging to me. And in hopes that if someone else going through a similar problem or issue the person is talking about, they can resonate with that and it can give them some hope in their situation. So I started the page, content page, a community called Project Light, and it's really about sharing these moments. So it's sharing these butterfly moments that can encourage another person in their struggle and help each other through these difficult moments. But I know your experience with community is a bit different. It's on more of the professional side of things. And I'd love to have you tell us a bit more about Comtech with us.
Yeah, so I guess like I've kind of always been a big believer in community. Straight after school, I would sort of like organize conferences, or just like they're not conferences, like 5, 10 people, like come together, bring people who were knowledgeable in their field, and they would kind of talk about and advise like the younger girls that would have attend the event. So I've always seen myself as two things, like someone who brings people together and someone who also loves to share experiences as well. So when I joined Wise, I think I kind of started like introspecting. I'm like, okay, it's been a while since I've done this community thing. It's something I used to love, and now I find myself here. And it was sort of a conflict for me because I felt like I find myself here, but I'm still trying to settle in. I'm still trying to find my feet. But like, how do I kind of use this opportunity to give back? And I kind of had to fight through like imposter syndrome to kind of say, you know what, it doesn't matter if you know like where I am now, I'm not, perfect at it, or I'm not the best at it yet. What matters is that I've gone on a journey, and that there are people behind me who are kind of looking and wondering, how has she done it? How can we do, what she's doing? And I thought, okay, you know what? Like it makes perfect sense. I've always loved the idea of community. So I'll start this career community called Comtech with us. And the idea is that I'm sharing my experience, but also using the connections that I've made along the way, to enrich other people's lives. So, for example, recently we had a workshop with a recruiter who I actually met at Wise, and I just love that I can kind of use my position and use my connections to make other people's journeys a bit better. And the idea is that all of us kind of grow together and we're building wholesome careers and we're doing it intentionally. So yeah, that's kind of like the idea behind why Come Tech with Us exists now.
Oh, that's so interesting. Like I think like that thing you were saying, I guess that idea of like the imposter syndrome, I know like it's something that I love like black women probably face as well. And it's so interesting because we're so overqualified most times that we face this problem. But I think it's like I would say it's something that I resonate with. And I was actually having a conversation this weekend about a friend who just got a recent promotion. And she was like, I feel weird telling people what to do. Like, and I have to tell them they're not keeping up with what they're meant to do. And I was like, yeah, you got to do that, girl, because you earned that position. And so I
Exactly.
love it. Like, exactly. We have to like dig deep, even though I think it's like everything. I study psychology, so I always have like very all these kind of thoughts, but it's always like anything new, it needs like your brain needs a while to like settle into doing it, and then after a while it becomes like muscle memory. And so I think it's similar as well, like when you're stepping up to new positions, sometimes it feels big, but then you like what you're doing with Contact with Us is a reminder to yourself as well about like the knowledge you do have and the expertise you have.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Yeah, so I guess just to end on a note, like, what would your advice be for anyone like listening to this talk? What do you want them to take from it?
Okay, I guess I would say like about people earlier on in their careers thinking about applying for jobs or like just considering a change maybe, to just like go for what you want, and I think that's the key thing, like we both agree with. We seem to, you can see it plays a part in our past experiences as well. I didn't really have the qualifications for the jobs I went for straight from university, but I was just like, I have a can do attitude. I'm like, I'm gonna go for it, and what is the worst they can say? No, and I'll get up again and go to the next
Try
one.
it.
Exactly. And so with me, like it's the advice I would probably say to someone thinking about applying to Wise or even anywhere else really is go for what you want. Think about what is your strength, what is your unique angle, your unique experience, achievements that you can build upon in your application, and really just like leverage on that. And also, if you do know someone working at any of those like organizations, like ask them for a reference. You can even hit me up. I don't know if people, I'm opening up the question for if they can ask you for references. Like you can ask, and it helps. Like honestly helps. Like I think as a community of black people as well, we need to like support each other, and in these bring help push each other along as well. So if you are interested possibly in coming for a role at Wise, we're still hiring. There are about like 70 or so roles or more even in product and engineering. So like if you are interested, go for it, and yeah, visit wise.com/jobs, I guess.
All
And how
right.
about you?
I think what I would say is like wherever you are, I think pursue excellence. Like black excellence is something that we're very familiar with and we hear a lot. But excellence isn't just that, it doesn't just come upon you. It's something that you work for, it's something that you cultivate by doing like the unglamorous things that, other people on your team or your company don't want to do. And just keep taking ownership because like I see those things as building blocks for a successful career. I see them as opening doors for you in the future. So don't shy away from the difficult things. I think just as Tomisia said, go for it, do what's difficult, even if it feels like you're not being appreciated where you are. You should always have your eyes on the goal, knowing that, what, I'm doing this for me, I'm gaining this knowledge for me. And when it's time, when my time comes, my lights will shine really brightly. And I think the good thing about that as well is that when you build so much like confidence and capital in your career, you can also use that to influence other people. So like don't forget as you move on, as you grow in your career, just remember that there are other people, looking up to you and wanting to kind of know what you're doing and, always take up any opportunity that you find to share that and to bring them along. Yeah.
That's such a good point. Yeah, that's so true. And I think it's like you said, it's like you said about the unglamorous parts. I think like for me, what I've learned as well through my career is like no experience is ever wasted. Like no knowledge is ever wasted. And sometimes I think when if you're like when you are within the parts of that experience and it seems like horrible, you're like, oh god, what is this? Like, how do I get through the next day in this job? But then honestly, like, it's sometimes you have to think outside of your situation and like be thinking, like thinking about your future, and you always have that like hat on, or you so it's like to get you away from your situation, think about like, what am I working, what's my goal in the future for the next 5, 10 years in my career, and how would this propel me to that stage? So yeah, that is so true. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you,
um
Christine. It's been nice chatting with you today.
I know.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to our talk. We hope you've learned something and connect with us. Find us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, where we're running our communities. And yeah, we'll be happy to chat with you guys. Thank you.